Hey, Passionators! I think I finally have my technical issues all worked out. Sorry it took me a little bit longer to get here than I planned to, but here I am. And happy 2020 if we haven't already spoken. I think this is my first time being back here this year. So let's start this decade, this new year, this season off the right way. I am definitely going to talk about the whole falling from grace thing because it's a really popular movie right now and a lot of people are talking about it and there are a lot of lessons to be learned from it if you know where to look. Hi, Otis and Jose and Natasha. It's great to see you here. And I just wanted to stop by for a minute. Not going to keep you long. I know you're probably in the middle of something right about now, and since I didn't plan this, I'm going to be respectful of your time. But if you have issues hearing me, please let me know because that's part of the reason why it took me so long to get here. My Bluetooth has not been my friend today. So please let me know. Hi, Emmanuel. And where where do I start? Should I start with the movie? Maybe. Okay, let's start with the movie. If you haven't seen it or spoilers are a problem for you, maybe this isn't the video you should watch because I'm really bad about that. So I've seen it and I don't have a problem talking about it. The movie itself focused a lot more on the crime than I'm going to. I, of course, am going to focus on the relationship angle of the movie. So let's start with Grace, the star of the movie, who is divorced, who had been cheated on by her previous husband, who got caught up in a whirlwind romance with a stranger who was much younger than her. And she was vulnerable, she was open, and she was the perfect prey. She was the perfect prey. She literally gave him the GPS to to do what he did to her. She laid it out. He didn't even have to go looking for it. She laid it out for him, step by step. She unlocked every insecurity she had and laid it bare before him. Now, if he had actually been the kind of person who was seeking to be loving to her and share a life with her, then those are the kinds of things that he eventually would have found out about her anyway. But because their relationship went at warp speed and hyperdrive, a lot of things got left out, a lot of things got overlooked, and a lot of things were just ignored in favor of feeling good, which unfortunately is something that we just never grow out of. That we will throw away logic in a quest to feel good quicker than a lot of us want to admit. And because she was in that position, she made that choice, and it nearly cost her whole life. It definitely cost her sanity at some point. And it's a trap that a lot of us fall into because once our emotions get engaged, our brains check out. One mistake that we often make is that, especially in these whirlwind situations, sorry, there's a plane going by overhead. I hope it's not interfering too much. But in these whirlwind situations where people say things like, oh my God, I feel so close to them. I feel like they've known me forever. We could just talk for hours and hours and hours, and we don't even have to be doing anything in particular. I just feel so close to them. All of that. When you can't hang up the phone, which can be a lot of fun sometimes. I have to admit that. When you can't hang up the phone, or she, in this particular case, she had stayed up so long, gone out so many nights, she couldn't even stay awake at work. She was falling asleep at her desk. She was nodding out in the middle of conversations. That is a red flag. Even though it gets painted oftentimes as romantic and cute and oh my god, they can't get enough of each other, isn't that fabulous? The truth is, if somebody is trying to trap you, trick you, get you to stop thinking and start feeling, one of the most effective ways to do that is to deprive you of sleep. One of the most effective ways to do that is to deprive you of sleep. And because you're enjoying not sleeping, you don't see it as a problem. Because the ways that they use to deprive you of sleep feel good to you. It doesn't register as a threat or a problem. When the truth is, sleep deprivation short circuits your ability to reason. You can't think properly when you've been deprived of too much sleep. I was reading some research on this earlier that said if you go 3 days without sleep, you can be clinically psychotic. 3 days without sleep is enough in many cases for most people to be diagnosable as clinically psychotic. Even if you have enough food, you go to work, everything else is good, but you haven't been to sleep. So that should be an indication of how important it is to sleep. But when we get in these romantic situations, sleep is often the first thing out the window. We talk each other into the sunrise and back into the sunset. And every now and then you can do that. But when it becomes a lifestyle, when it gets to the point where you're falling asleep at work, when it gets to the point where you're falling asleep behind the wheel, I've talked to people who've done that too. When you're spending too much time doing things that you don't even remember doing, that's a signal that your subconscious has actually taken over your conscious activities. I've talked to people who have driven themselves out of state and didn't remember the drive. Like in the name of going to see Boo Bay, whoever it was, after a long shift, but they just had to see him. If it's that important, it'll be there after you get your rest. If it's that important, it will still be there after you go to sleep. Another problem, which is really common in these, especially in these whirlwind situations, is the alcohol factor. Is if alcohol is a major feature in your date, if alcohol becomes the reason that you do something, anything, if you have to get drunk to do it, that is a red flag. If it's something that you wouldn't normally do in your right mind, then it's a red flag for you to do it drunk. If you are on a date, even if you're not on a date, even if it's just part of how you are with each other, and you find yourself having to drink yourself into a state of mind that allows you to behave in a certain way, that is a red flag. If you wouldn't go out with this person, or if you wouldn't be with this person, if you wouldn't do whatever it is that you're about to do, that you have to get nice to do. If you need all this liquid courage in order to do what it is that you believe is going to make them happy, then either you're the wrong person or you're with the wrong person. But you are definitely doing the wrong thing in order to stay with that person, because you are sacrificing yourself in order to please someone else. And that never works. As much as we do it, as often as you see it, as many times as you may have done it personally, when has it ever worked? Who is the long-term happy couple that you know, that you've seen, that you've read about, that you heard whispered on the wind? Who is that couple that gave up themselves, that gave up their sanity, that gave up their serenity, that gave up their peace of mind to do or be whatever it was that their mate wanted, and they got a happy, healthy relationship as a result? I will wait. It doesn't work that way. That's why it's so important that you have boundaries set and that you have a real idea of what it takes to actually make a relationship work before you give your emotions free rein to run and do whatever it is that they want to do. Because here's the thing about emotions: we allow our emotions to make decisions for us. And that's not even what emotions are designed to do. Emotions don't think well. Emotions are fickle, they're chaotic, sometimes they're toxic, and they never have to make sense. They're not even trying to make sense. They just show up. They do what they do. They are what they are. They don't ask any permission, and they don't check in with you to see if what they're doing is actually working for you or against you. They just do. And that's all they do. And they can be very valuable to you as an indicator, not as a decision maker. That is why we have logic. That is why we use our brains to make choices. And we use our hearts to feel. When we mix the two is where we get into trouble. Because that's where our ego lives. Ego lives in the intersection of logic and emotion. And it rarely, if ever, works for us. Once we get past the basics of survival, once we get past that, self-preservation, once we get past that, ego really gets us in trouble most of the time. Because it's largely based on what we feel like. I talk to people all the time. I deal with client after client, married long-term, just got married, about to get married, never been married, but they're all in couples of various kinds or another. And I ask them a simple question: why are you together? And the first thing, I do mean the first thing, out of most of them's mouth is, because I love them. That's the first thing. And don't get me wrong, it's a good thing. But here's the truth. The truth is that loving somebody isn't a good enough reason to be in a relationship with them. Just like missing somebody isn't a good enough reason to get back into a relationship with them. Yeah, I kind of thought this was going to be a quiet one. But it is the truth. Because once you get to that point where everything that you do is predicated on the fact that you love somebody, you have set yourself up for a toxic emotional roller coaster ride that will take you where you didn't want to go, cost you more than you wanted to pay, and keep you longer than you wanted to stay. Am I the only one who's been in this situation? I didn't think so. But it's still the truth. Following our hearts to the neglect of our heads gets us into trouble every time, gets us into misery every time, because emotions are fickle. They are fickle. And we all know this. We all know how quickly our emotions can change. We know this. But once we fall in love, a phrase that I personally don't use anymore, once we fall in love, everything that makes sense is okay to disregard, because that's not what love is. Love is supposed to be pain and anguish and chaos and anxiety and OMG and what am I gonna do and give me that phone and who is that? Don't get me started. We could be here for a minute and I'm not trying to hold you all afternoon. But the point is, falling in love is a trap. Growing in love is how people maintain lasting, loving, healthy, happy relationships. Falling means you're out of control already. That's why they call it that. It means you are completely and totally given in to your emotions and they are running the show. And anytime they are running the show is going to be a nightmare. Just because you like the way it feels every now and then doesn't mean that it's a good thing for you. Feeling good and being good are two different things. Feeling good and being good are two different things. Granted, when you have real love, you have them both. You have them both. But if you're in a situation where you actually have one more than the other, know that that isn't love, even if that's what you call it. If it robs you of your peace, if it it's a danger to your sanity, if it threatens your life, your property, your health, your loved one, if it threatens your peace, then it isn't love. Obsession, maybe. Attachment, definitely. But just because you don't want it to leave doesn't mean it is love. Uh-oh. That's not what it means. Just because you don't want it to go doesn't mean that it's love. It doesn't mean that it's good for you. It doesn't mean that it's meant for you. It doesn't mean that it belongs to you. Just because you want it doesn't mean that you're entitled to it. And however you think it's happening, in that state of mind, you have made it up. That's not what's actually going on, because you're not seeing things the way they actually are. You're seeing things the way you want them to be. And you are literally wound up in red flags that you are blind to. Example, Grace. And that was just a movie. But how many of us in our real worlds are doing much worse? Maybe we're not married to criminals, but a whole lot of us have traded in our sanity and our serenity and our peace of mind in the pursuit of what we called love. And not only did we not get it, but we were worse off after the pursuit. Love doesn't do that. Love is that factor in your life that actually helps you become the best version of who you are. That's what being around people who love you does. Any person who loves you has a vested interest in seeing you become your best version. That's what the interest is when they love you. They want you to be your best, to live your best life, to have your best self. They want that for you. And if there is something that they can do in order to help you achieve that, they are more than willing and ready and able to do that. And they don't have to throw themselves on a sword in the process. Love is not what we've been looking at on television. It's not what we've been seeing in movies. It's not, definitely not what's on cable. It's not even what most of us have grown up watching. And that's the problem. We need new input because most of us, though we talk about self-love, don't actually know what it is or how to achieve it, don't know how to maintain it on an ongoing basis, don't know how to use it in order to make the kinds of choices that actually serve us rather than hurt us, especially in the name of relationships. So, anyway, I guess that's about it for right now. I think I've held you long enough. But in case there's more that you want, since we're a week away from my favorite month of the year, February, yes! February, for the next 7 days, I thought I would do an offer. And that offer is $29 for 29 days. And here's how it works. For the month of February, I have blocked off some time to do 29-minute calls with whoever wants to talk to me personally. So, if you go to my website, it is passionatorqt.as.me. Hey, let me see if I can type it in here, because then maybe you'll be able to see it better. Sorry, I'm doing all this on my own, so forgive the shake, but I'm going to see if I can put it in here so you can see it, even if you catch this on the replay. But since there's only 7 days left, I wanted to be sure that I put it in here and let you know about it, because the truth is, relationships don't happen online. Not the real ones, anyway. And in order to get the understanding, the complete understanding of what people mean, what they say, how they say it, you can't type that. You can't swipe that. You can't text that. So, yeah. This is where you can get scheduled. I just put it in the comments section. You can book your own appointment and the follow-up is automatic. So, yeah, we'll get 29 minutes to talk to each other. There's a form to fill out when you sign up, so you can let me know what it is that's on your mind, what it is that's on your heart. But, Facebook isn't for everything. And yeah, they've been giving me grief lately. Anyway, I can't really speak as freely as I once did on Facebook. Here I am 10 years later, and I can't even use my website name, so I came up with another one. But yeah, $29 for 29 days of February. And for the next 7 days, you can sign up. The hours available are between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And you can always check the availability at the website that I'll post it in the comments section. And if you run into any trouble, please let me know. I'll definitely check into it for you. And thank you for checking in, for hanging out with me for a while. If you catch this on the replay, thank you. And please leave me comments about anything that I might have said that stood out to you for whatever reason, whether you agree or you don't. Uh, Thanks for coming by. It was good to see you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you again soon. Happy Friday, happy weekend, and stay in love. Bye bye.